Today's video is gonna be a bit all over the place. You'll see why later on. Last week, I cel-shaded Cyclops, the final X-Men figure from the X-Men 97 wave. And I also received this really awesome Sentinel head from Bearded Skull Studios. Check that video out if you haven't already. Individually, the cel shading on my X-Men figures could be better, but as a whole, they look amazing and cohesive. I just want to make a display for them, especially now that I got a Sentinel head for them to beat up. But I can't fit all these figures into one display. It's gonna be way too crowded. Personally, my favorite displays are the ones that feature 2 to 3 characters. They're not too busy and the spotlight is directly on the figures. But due to the limited amount of space, I do sometimes try to fit as many characters as possible into one display. I believe my No Way Home display has the most figures. It is a bit crowded. That is why I picked the construction site as a setting so I could elevate some of the figures without using any flight stands or wires. But with the amount of X-Men I have here, it's not possible to fit them all into one single diorama display, especially when there are 2 Magnetos. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm gonna limit it down to just the heroes against the Sentinel. But that's still 9 against 1. It does not look like a fair fight. So I went and picked up the Sentinel Titan figure. This figure is big. Oh, they have the official artwork on the side of the box. Not sure if this was intentional, but the figures and the artwork are the same size. I can place my figures in front of each artwork and compare them. Not bad, not bad. Oh wait, I got distracted. Back to the Sentinel figure. Okay, it looks really bad on camera, especially when you can't really tell the scale of it. In person, it's slightly better, but it's not great either. What I absolutely don't like is the articulation. I appreciate that this isn't just a statue, but this figure is barely posable. The only good thing about it is the size of the figure. It scales nicely against Marvel Legends. Whoa, Wolverine looks like a sticker stuck on Sentinel. The shine on Sentinel looks so jarring against the flat cel-shaded Wolverine. So that means I'm gonna have to cel-shade Sentinel too. So, hello, this is Ken. I like making things. Whether it's repainting my figures or making diorama displays, I love making things look awesome. My goal is to elevate my figures so they can shine on my display. Join my DIY venture as I ask myself the same question every week. Can I make it? This plastic is very slippery. I don't think paint will stick onto the surface that well, so let me rough it up first. Okay, let's start with the pink. The pink I have is a bit too light. I'm gonna darken it with a bit of purple mixed in. Even though I sanded the surface, the paint still isn't really gripping on that nicely. The brush is gonna pick up the paint again if I do too many swipes, so I'm gonna have to do one thin coat at a time. Wait for it to fully dry before I add another layer, until the color is fully opaque. As for the purple they used is too dark. When I look at reference images, it's actually more of a pale lavender color. So I'm gonna do the same thing. Apply one thin coat at a time and build out the opacity from there. That did not go the way I thought it would. The colors don't look right. I think the lavender purple isn't too far off. I believe the pink is the issue. It's a bit too cotton candy pink. The pink on the Sentinel is more intense. It's a bit more red and darker. So let me try again. Okay, it looks a bit better, but I have to stop. There are like 8 thin coats of paint on the Sentinel. Let me seal the paint with the matte spray. I'm gonna move on to the shading color. Maybe that's what's missing. I'm using purple for the pink areas. I'm not gonna bother with mixing the color and just use the paint straight out of the bottle. This way, I can build up the color quicker, without worrying about the shade not matching from layer to layer. You would think painting a large figure like this is going to be much easier. I can use a larger brush and do bigger strokes. But nope, I actually find this to be more annoying to do. The figure itself is quite heavy to hold, and any imperfections become 10 times more noticeable. But I assume this would be so much easier if I did it with an airbrush. Too bad this room has no ventilation. Here's the purple shading all finished. The figure is looking very 2D. Almost too 2D. Let me add the shading on the other parts. I'm just using a blue for these areas, extending the shading down the arms and legs, and adding it to the sides of the torso. There are also these other darker spots on the torso, like the belt buckle and the area below the neck. Alright, one final color, black. According to the reference images, the W-shaped line under the neck is black, and the 2 slots in his chest as well. These are always depicted black in the cartoon. There are also some thick black lines around the face as well. I had to do them off screen because it's just too awkward to hold. But that looks so much better. This is finally starting to look somewhat decent. All there's left are those black stripes on the torso, arms, and legs. I'm gonna add the stripes on the edges of the shading color, starting with a thin stroke and build up a thickness until I'm satisfied. While I'm at it, I've been testing my live stream equipment, getting all the technical stuff down. I figured out how to use the DSLR instead of my old cell phone. The quality is much better, the white balance looks good, and the audio is much clearer. It's not picking up every single background noise. I probably still need to do one more test, but I'll likely do my first actual live soon. I'm not a social person. I do a lot of talking internally, so I'm a bit nervous, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, here's Sentinel all cel shaded. While I don't think I did a great job, it's still much better than the original figure. The original figure looks like it was dunked in oil or something. I thought painting the Sentinel was going to be quick and easy, but this actually took way longer than I expected. I spent days on this. But I now have all the pieces I need for my X-Men display. Now the battle damaged Sentinel doesn't have to fight the X-Men alone. There's backup. This looks more like a fair fight. Okay, I know I said I wanted to make a display for the X-Men, but I got distracted. I had this sudden urge to recreate the opening for X-Men 97 with the figures. Turns out, this was also much more challenging than I expected. The first thing I realized was that I couldn't maneuver 2 figures in front of the camera without one arm blocking the other, so I had to move one figure at a time using one hand. But that also made spinning motions very hard to do. What's even harder was moving the figure and the camera simultaneously with minimal shaking. So I ended up doing the rest of the footage on a tripod. Look how silly the flying characters are. But I trusted the process. The Cyclops spinning shot was probably my favorite shot. That blast effect makes everything look cool. Oh, another thing I had to battle with was the autofocus. Half the time the footage was blurry. Boo. Hey, that was a convincing throw. That's probably the best shot I got so far. I admire those who do stop motion regularly. I do not have the patience to take a photo for every frame. So I'm kinda cheating here by filming short bursts of videos instead. Hopefully when I stitch them together, I'll get something somewhat presentable. Okay, I'm gonna end today's video with the reenactment of the opening for X-Men 97. Give this video a like and subscribe to my channel to see more. I'm aiming to have the display done by next Saturday. So until then, stay inspired and I'll see you next week. I can make it, so can you.